Let's instead get to last night's game. Celtics had a 20-point lead. They lose at home. Thunder have a lead late. They lose at home. And we could get into why the Thunder fouled up 3 early with the clock remaining. We get into what actually happened on the last play, but I just think the easiest thing is this. Look, I'm fully aware of what my team's record was at the end of our first year. And I could go into the reasons, and sometimes they could sound like excuses or whatever. But I continue to believe, I know, that you have to teach players everything. And the hardest thing to teach them how to do is to win. And winning is different in different situations. And you're like, well, that sounds like obvious talk. I'm like, yeah, it is. But winning a game like that, finding a way to finish, finding a way to close, if you haven't done it before, it's hard to just do it. Right? It's hard to just do it. And it doesn't mean that forever the Oklahoma City Thunder or Chet Holmgren is going to be a choker. But he choked last night. And it's kind of obvious. Yeah, maybe they shouldn't have fouled so early up 3. Okay. I mean, again, we all fall back on the hard and fast rules. Our last home game of the year, under 7 seconds to go, which is generally the hard and fast rule, we fouled up 3 points. The problem is we're one of the worst rebounding teams in the country. We were going against one of the best rebounding teams in the country, and they were also a high-volume, low-make three-point shooting team, so we probably should have just challenged the three-point shot and not fouled late in the game, especially because the guy we fouled, when we fouled, they only had 1 or 2 three-point shooters on the court. But I digress. The point is this. Chet Holmgren is, I don't know if he'll ever be as good as people want him to be. I don't know if this is a Nick Anderson type of moment. And if you don't remember Nick Anderson, he was a star with the Orlando Magic. He missed 4 consecutive free throws in Game 1 of their NBA Finals series against the Houston Rockets. Back when Houston won their first, was that first or second title? Second, back-to-back titles, right? And Nick Anderson was never the same as a player. But the point is that that's something you kind of can't teach. They just got to do, and eventually you do it enough, you know how to get it done. And this is why the old guys that foul so much and don't move as well, why they become more effective in the playoffs is because they don't miss 2 consecutive free throws. They don't leave an Aaron Gordon and help when help wasn't really needed on a Russell Westbrook drive. And he killed him at both ends. But winning is the last thing and the hardest thing to teach. And just because you've won in the regular season is not like winning in the postseason. That's a completely different animal. And it's the old Rudy Tomjanovich. Never underestimate the heart of a champion. Yeah, I honestly think never underestimate how valuable it is when you've won that last game, when you've won a 7-game series, when you've won a Western Conference Finals, when you've won an NBA championship, when you've done that, you're kind of playing with house money. That's really what it is. You're kind of playing with house money because we can criticize whatever Jamal Murray and which Jamal Murray is the real Jamal Murray. We can criticize Nikola Jokic at times for his defense, whatever, but you can't be critical of the fact that, or you can't go back forever, they are actually champions. They have actually done it. And we can be hopeful towards Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We can be helpful towards Chet Holmgren. But until they do it, they still wear the badge of they've never done it before. And when you haven't done it before, last year they lose to the Dallas Mavericks, who on paper would feel like an inferior team, but they beat them. This year, they're down 1-0 to the Denver Nuggets. It doesn't mean they're going to lose the series. And it happened right on the back of the Boston Celtics, the defending NBA champions, losing at home to the New York Knicks after being up 20 in the second half. But until you've actually done it, Boston Celtics did it last year. That's that benefit of the doubt. You're never going to get the benefit of the doubt. Never. It's the Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. Here's Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault explaining why they fouled up early in the shot clock, up three early in the shot clock.
That's usually our deal, is to foul up 3 and to play that game. I thought we executed the fouls pretty well, got the ball in bounds pretty well. It didn't go our way tonight, but it's worked out well for us in the past. We'll continue to look at it, maybe learn from it, but I didn't think that's why we lost the game.
Here's why his team lost.
You said that the fouling situation down the stretch wasn't why you lost. What would you boil it down to, why you lost this one?
I mean, just overall execution on both ends of the floor. I thought defensive execution, we had a lot of possessions that we can clean up and learn from. The rebounding, we can definitely learn from. They had a lot of offensive rebounds tonight, gave them a lot of second life. And then our execution down the stretch offensively.
Yeah, execution offensively down the stretch. Here's David Edelman, who's the interim head coach now. Was he named the full-time head coach of the Denver Nuggets on the impact of Aaron Gordon?
Aaron's going to be a hero again, but I'm also looking at 14 rebounds. I'm looking at 22 points. I'm looking at ball handling responsibilities, leadership. He is a Denver Nugget, man. Like he is the soul of our team. So cool to see him have 2 moments that no one will ever forget.
Here's Aaron Gordon talking about his game-winning shot.
Great poise with this team. Between Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, you got Hall of Famer Russell Westbrook, you got CB who's stepping into his own. A lot of guys stepped up, but I think our poise and our belief that we were going to win, no matter the circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, look, because they've done it before, they don't have any sort of fear. You're still playing with house money, and you have the calmness of knowing you've done before, and thus you can do it again.
I think that Daigneault was, my 2 cents, completely off the mark. They fouled way too early at 10 seconds. The rule is usually under 10 seconds or
it's
whatever.
Usually under 7.
There you go. Perfect. To foul them in the backcourt and then to make it a free throw shooting contest when you're the ones in the lead. Nuggets had nothing to lose. Thunder had everything to lose. I think that they completely, I don't even chalk it up to youth. I think that they just botched that scenario in that last foul. That was the biggest difference in the game when they were able to go up 3 on the SGA dunk and then let basically no time run off, and they were basically back where they were. That was a huge misstep.
It's actually, for many people, it's swung the other way to where it's a, John Rothstein, what is he? He does these 3 rules. He's a college basketball guy at CBS College Basketball.
We sleep in May.
CBS.
He's sleeping right now.
He's sleeping
Getting
right now.
his long sleep now.
But he'll have these tweets where he's like, 3 things, like never acknowledge Godfather 3. I forget what
Never eat pizza outside of the Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
Right? That's one of them.
And always foul up 3. And I'm just telling you, I lived it. You don't always foul up 3. Okay, and there's a specific timing element of it. I would say in the NBA it's probably less than 7 seconds because of, advancing the basketball, how long it actually takes, all these other things. But, yeah, 10 seconds. I've never heard under 10. I've always heard under 7. Brad Stevens was the first one to verbalize it that I ever heard of, and he said under 7. That's what I've kind of lived by. We fouled with 6.8 and still lost this year.
I also, this is minor, but I have a real problem with guys chucking up 3/4 court shots. I would rather be late but get my shot off at half court. Like, at least take the chance that I have a better chance of making a half-court shot. So when Tyrese Halliburton had his bucket against the Bucks in Game 5, Giannis just threw it into Gary Trent in the backcourt.
Instead of throwing it down the court to Portis.
Yeah,
Portis was down there.
1.3 seconds left. Like, you're not going to make it. Last night, the Thunder, no timeouts, but they had 2.8 seconds.
Yeah, they panicked.
And Williams just got the inbound and chucked one up, and you're like...
It's really interesting. Now, look, our guys panicked. We practiced since last summer. We practiced between 3 and 7 seconds what we do, 3 and under seconds what we do, 7 seconds and over what we do. Like, practiced it all the time. And with 4 seconds to go in that same Oakland game, we just threw it in, dribbled up the court, and shot probably a logo 3. Wasn't a terrible shot, but what was the point of practicing what we wanted to do otherwise? Anyway, I agree with you. Like it is, but it's also because NBA teams usually have an extra timeout, so they usually advance the basketball and they're prepared for it. And then in the rare cases, and there's 2 games that each team did not have timeouts, I thought the inbounder panicked and threw it to kind of the closest guy, and you end up taking a 75-foot shot, which is, you're going to make 5% or less of the time, whereas at midcourt, your probably percentages in the 20%.
2 more steps, yeah. Nuggets, or the Thunder used 2 of their timeouts at 12 seconds and at 10 seconds. So, and which then goes back to the strategy, Doug, of them fouling immediately, which forced them to use 2 timeouts in 2 seconds of game time. Dagno could say, like, with some other things. No, they completely botched the ending of the game, and it's on them.